Heyo atematu versi per asepa bit. Oh goodness, I've been playing Planet Coaster for so long, I've started talking in Planko. What I said was, hello and welcome back to episode 10. Last week we introduced a drop tower by the name of Missile to our park, as well as a KFC, Starbucks and a Wetherspoons. This week we finish off our Main Street Plaza as well as bringing in 2 new rides to Worthington Farms. The first of said rides is a classic carousel. Well, you didn't think we could build a theme park without one of these, right? After positioning the ride, I fenced the area off before making a start on the queue. Because this is a low capacity kids ride, it's not too important to have a long queue. I made a simple sheltered path using beams, basic shapes, pillars, fencing and bunting. Next, I moved over to the train station. For this one, I decided on a facade rather than a full building, but wanted to style it based on a traditional British station. I used brick walls, wood tile roofing, and wooden pillars. I gave the platform a rough concrete foundation before creating a wooden plank floor. I added some signage and then some detailing to the facade. I used the iron pillar caps, poles and wooden beams. Some inverted wooden fences and pillars made a nice trim for the roof. I popped some windows and a door onto the wall, extended the flooring to the other platform before doing some fencing. I stole some gubbins from the other station and tidied them up. To add some realisms, I placed a generator followed by some TMTK gravel. I wanted the gap between the station and the plaza to be a bit overgrown, so I added some trees and bushes. To finish off the edge of the park, I created some brambles using the creosote bushes and buried some oak trees for extensive shrubbery. A bit of terrain paint before fencing off the queue. One thing our park is lacking is an ice cream stand, and what better place than the centre of this plaza? I placed a cosmic cow, wrapped it in wooden plank walls before adding some detailing using wooden pillars. I added some signage, AC, trash cans, and an electrical box. To finish it off, I slapped this wonderful TMTK Nestle sign onto the sides for that touch of real-life branding. Last week, I built this foundation without saying much about it. I'm sure you've been lying awake at night wondering what on earth it was for. Well, how could a low-budget park like this bring in C-list celebrities without some sort of stage? Parks will often have some sort of performance space, whether it be for live music or corporate events. But I wanted to ensure it looked cheap and temporary. We're on a budget after all. The stage was made using basic shapes, framework and trussing. Nothing more, nothing less. I created an off-ramp using hazard strips painted grey and some more basic shapes. I popped in a whole bunch of backstage clutter from the studios pack, as well as a generator to power it all. I added some moving and studio lights to the trussing, but switched them all off for now. What's a stage without sound? I chucked some monitors on the floor before starting work on a line array. Lastly, I fenced off the backstage area. Moving back over to our plaza, I slid some branded bin covers onto some bins and then placed down some picnic benches. Seeing as we're in rural Britain, plenty of foliage is a must. I placed some deciduous nature and created some rock work around the back of the bunker. With all those cheap pints consumed at Wetherspoons, some toilets seemed like a good idea. Nothing fancy here, just smooth concrete walls and the firehouse roof from the Ghostbusters DLC. I reused our custom toilet windows from before and added the usual details. It's time for our next ride. Being at the back of the park, I wanted something that would peek over the trees to draw guests in its direction. I went with the Huss Enterprise, or as it's known in Planco, Collider. The in-game version is a bit too heavily themed in my opinion, but sadly there's nothing we can do about that. I gave the foundation a wooden trim using some fencing. I then created a small plaza before laying out the queue line. I fenced the area with metal fencing and then tiled the plaza with our good old Victorian tile. I finished off the edges with plaster walls and completed the fencing. I popped down a fake lady person to act as a ride attendant, and then copy and pasted a planter tree from the other side of the park. Some benches, parasols and bins finish off our plaza nicely. A bit of greenery ties these two areas together, with a few weeds growing up the side of the ride. Lastly, I copied the swooping seagull ride sign, but made a few adjustments. And just like that, this whole area is complete. Our park is filling up rather nicely, but don't worry, we've still got a little way to go, and I have plans for after its completion. After all, real parks don't just cease to exist after they're built, right? Enjoy the cinematics, and I'll see you next week.